Everything that Alan did was about making it simplified, making it understandable.
The things that you're going to get and the things that your staff is going to take away are going to really help your business grow.
Alan definitely knows what he's talking about.
I got to ask any question that came to my mind. I asked all the nitty-gritty questions, the overarching questions, just anything that I felt would help produce more sales.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing the sales skyrocket.
Got so much information that we know we can take back to the club and really help increase our sales.
It can only help you. Even if you've been doing this for a long time, it's never a bad idea to have someone come in with an outside perspective.
And we just had a day with Alan BERG, and it was
insightful, amazing, absolutely inspiring, wonderful.
This sales training was definitely worth the investment.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Geoffrey Hill, and I cannot describe how excited I am today to have my next guest on. This is one of my best friends from all over the world. He is a professional speaker of Excalibur level. We're not talking like the guy who just talks at the local county fair. We're talking about one of 37 people out of 7 billion people around the world. Imagine that. This guy is one of only 37 people. It's a very exclusive club to be this certified speaking person with this global accreditation to him. His name is Alan BERG, and if you don't know who Alan BERG is, you better look him up. You got to find out. If you're in business and you say, oh, my marketing, my sales, or something's going haywire, you better be calling Alan. It's kind of like Better Call Saul, only this guy is honest and truthful and a decent human being. My buddy Alan BERG is the mastermind personified, and today I really want you to meet him right after this. Poof!
All right, guys, the quadratic formula. Let the fun begin. Who could tell me how the formula begins? X equals...
No, this isn't happening.
Excuse me, my child goes to this school.
Let's take square.
How dare you? Ow, I paid my taxes.
What is that? Oh, snap.
All right, settle down, little goblins.
Whoa.
No, please,
Tell him it's Mommy!
calm. Zen. Yes! No!
Are you looking for ways to make more money? Are you good at sales? Do you have the drive and the ambition that it takes to get the job done? Well, then come join our team here at TVPBN. We offer great incentives. Work your own hours from wherever you want. Small town, big city, my favorite, the quiet island beach. It all works. Go to tvpbn.com today. Click on the link to become an affiliate. My name is Chris Mayberry, and I'm excited to be working with you.
Two most important things: time and money. Anything that weighs both do it twice.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that brief momentary break. Today I've got to tell you something. You know how there's like a president of the United States, and there's a president of Russia, and there's a president of China, and a president of every other country around the world? It's kind of an elite club, right? If you're a world leader, you're a member of an elite club. But there's 192 countries that you're a member of that elite club. That's 192 people in your club. But there's another club called the Global, now I forgot the exact title, but it's a global group of professional motivational speakers, and there's currently only 37. That's 2 fingers. 37 people in this extremely exclusive club. It's far more elite to be in this club than it is to be a world leader. Can you imagine such a thing? And that's where my friend Alan BERG falls into play, right here in the 37-person club. There is nothing more elite than that out of 7 billion people. Welcome to the show, Alan. It's so incredible.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Yeah, being a global speaking fellow is an honor for me, and it was a goal and something I achieved a few years ago. So it's I enjoy being in that very exclusive club.
I can't even imagine what it's like to be that exclusive. I mean, everyone's like, I'm going to grow up to be the president of the United States, as if that's the pinnacle, and it's not. There's a more exclusive club. I mean, how did you get here in the first place?
Well, I started speaking professionally when I didn't even know I was a professional speaker, because I didn't know what that was. My identity was I was publishing wedding magazines, and then I was vice president of sales at a company called The Knot. I think that's where we met back when I was speaking because of The Knot. For those of you that don't know, theknot.com, that's THEKNOT.com. And I was vice president of sales, and I was speaking on behalf of the company to wedding and event professionals about the business of weddings and events. And I didn't realize that I was a professional speaker until I got off stage one day in Montreal, Canada, and somebody said, "Hey, Alan, that was a great speech. You're a great speaker. Are you a member of the National Speakers Association?" And I said, "What's that?" And I looked it up, and I looked at the credentials, and apparently one of the ways to become a member is because you can't just say, "I want to join and then become a professional speaker." You have to already be one. And one was that as part of your job, you spoke to, I think it was groups of 12 or more 20 times a year or something like that. Or maybe it was groups of 12 or more 20 times, whatever it was. And I said, wow, I do that. And I went and found out that I was a professional speaker, but I also had a job, right? So that wasn't my job. And then I found out, oh my gosh, you could. I talked about business, because the thing with the wedding and events industry is it's filled with, as so much of our world is filled with small businesses that people are really good at a skill or a craft. So if you're a videographer, that's a skill or a craft. If you're a photographer, a DJ, a caterer, a florist, these are skills. But the skill of making floral bouquets is not the same skill as having a great business. And what I realized is that a lot of these people fell into their business and then are kind of drowning because they don't know how to run a business. They don't understand what that means. And I
really good artists, super artistic, but they forgot that it's still a business.
Not that they forgot, they didn't realize what they were getting into. So many people think about the DJ in college, right? They're on the radio station, and then they're DJing clubs, and then somebody's like, hey, we're having a party, could you DJ that? And then that turned into a wedding and turned into a bar mitzvah or whatever. That's DJing. That's what that is. And when you got paid that cash under the table for that side gig in college, that was nice. That's not a business. A business is now all the other things you need to do if you want to actually live off of that income. So you need insurance, you need advertising and marketing, you might end up with staff, and then all the other expenses that go along, and then how to price yourself right and how to make the sale. The sale is easy when somebody comes and says, hey, Jeff, could you come and, videotape this thing for me? you didn't really have to make the sale.
That's
but
correct.
the sale is harder when you need to do that for 50 times a year or hundreds of times a year. Or one of my clients in 2019, an entertainment company, they did 4,000 events that year. That's a lot of sales.
How do I get more customers? And as soon as they ask that question, my first thought is, you call Alan Berg.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, at the Photo Booth Expo, where we've seen each other in addition to DJ shows, I remember a guy came up to my booth and his friend said, "Hey, can you help him?" I said, "Well, you know, what's the problem?" He said, "Well, you know, he needs to get customers. He's got a brand new business." And it turns out that he spent $10,000 on photo booth equipment. He had no website and he had no money left. I said, "Well, if you have no website and you have no money to advertise, how do you expect to get anybody to find out that you exist?" Because the first step to getting more business is getting in front of your audience, getting the attention of your audience. And if you don't even have your own website, not that that's enough, because then you have to do, SEO and other things there. But he had no plan. His plan was to go buy photo booth equipment, kind of like Field of Dreams. If I buy it, they will come. It doesn't work that way.
Assuming that because you own a machine, that's all it's going to take. But if no one knows you've got it in your shop.
Right.
Except
and so many people. Well, but so many people, because they don't have business skills, they don't understand what investing is. I actually made a video earlier today for Wedding Pro, which is the Knot and Wedding Wires education thing. And it was about creating a budget for your business. And people understand that they need to budget maybe for their supplies. They may need to budget for their equipment, depending upon what type of business you have. But you have to budget for advertising and marketing. And you don't budget based upon the business you have. You budget based upon the business that you want to get. So there's a kind of a rule of thumb for most businesses that 10 to 15% of your anticipated revenue is a good number to be investing in advertising and marketing. Now, if you have a higher average dollar, it doesn't have to be that high. So in my industry, a venue which gets a higher average dollar, they might be able to get away with 5% or 4% or 7%. But if your average dollar is lower, you need to advertise and market, because again, getting noticed, that's the first step. Is if they don't know you exist, how can you possibly get any further with them? And too many businesses are trying to do it on the cheap. And listen, I get it. I understand budgets are everything, but the one place that I don't skimp is on advertising and marketing.
Well, it's like the gas. If you don't put gas in your car, where are you going to go? And the advertising and marketing is the fuel for your business. You might have the most incredible product in the world, or you might have one of the worst products in the world, make a fast food restaurant that we have all eaten at, and we get indigestion, but you know that double arch business markets like crazy.
Right.
So how would these people go about this?
Well, but Coke and Pepsi. Everybody knows Coke and Pepsi, but why do they keep marketing? Because when you go to the store and you have a choice at that convenience store of Coke or Pepsi, they want you to pull that door open instead of the other door open. Because we all have competitors. Now, if you don't have a competitor...
It's not a bottle that doesn't have a label when you buy it. It's got this flashy looking label to catch your eye, and yet all you wanted was the drink.
But what they're selling, there's actually a great series on the History Channel, The Food That Made America, and one of them was about the soda wars. What they did early on is, Pepsi, I think, did it better than Coca-Cola early on, is they marketed the lifestyle, not the soda, not the pop, depending on where you're listening from. They marketed not what was in the bottle, the taste test and all that kind of stuff, but when you saw the people in the commercial, did you relate to them and say, hey, I'm either like them or want to be like them? And that's what a lot of people miss in their advertising and marketing, is they market the service, not the results of choosing you specifically for that. I did a presentation recently at a conference on the difference between your brand and branding. And the difference between your brand and branding is logos and colors. And if you look over my shoulder, here is my logo, Wedding Business Solutions. That's branding, the fact that I have that over my shoulder here in every shot. My brand is not that. My brand is what people say about me after they do business with me. So if you look at my website, if you look at my bookmarks, if you look at my marketing pieces, every single one of them has testimonial quotes on them, but they're short. They're like single sentence, because that is the result of choosing me. If I list on paper what I do, pretty much every other speaker or consultant or sales trainer kind of looks the same. Just like every DJ looks the same, every photographer and videographer looks the same on paper. The results are different. And Jeff, if we lived in a world, the movie world, where we could have 3 events on the same day, let's say 3 corporate events on the same day, it was the same company, it's the same event, but you had 3 different fill in the blank designers or production people or videographers taking care of that event. And you could see the results. If they're talented people, they would all be great results, but they'd all look different. And that's what you need to be selling, is what happens if I choose you, not what happens if I have a lighting company, a production company, an audio company, a videographer, or whatever. And too many people are selling the what. They're not selling the why.
That is so true. There was a question asked the other day, if all of us DJs play exactly the same music, how do we differentiate ourselves from the other guy down the street?
Right.
It's like you said,
and I talk
reviews and that brand itself, the branding.
And I talk to DJs all the time about that. In your email messages, in your social messages with customers, you're talking about lighting and DJing and how many hours you're going to DJ, and that's not what you should be selling. I remember sitting with a DJ in Kansas City, and he got a message in, got an inquiry, and it says, "How much is your 5-hour package?" And he's like, "Oh, 5-hour package." And I said, "Well, have you ever figured out how much time it takes you to do a wedding?" And he did very involved grand entrances and with the announcements with different music for each person. And it was somewhere between 30 and 40 hours, including the wedding itself. I said, "Well, so why don't you respond back and say, thanks so much for reaching out. We would love to make your wedding amazing and have your guests raving about it for weeks. I don't have a 5-hour package, but I would love to tell you about the 30 to 40 hours that I'm going to invest in making your wedding the event of the year." And that's a different language. That's to get the customer to go, huh? Huh? Right? My friend calls it the Scooby-Doo, where they go, what? Like, what is that?
Yeah, and because they're not, people don't necessarily know what kind of camera you're using to shoot a video. They don't know what your speaker brand is, and they really don't care. What they care is it going to be a fun party? Can you make it fun? If we hire you, are you going to make it fun? They don't care if there's bass. I used to work on a cruise ship. I did over 1,000 cruises. And when I first got there, man, I was hauling all this gear in, and it was a major concert setup just to do a 4-hour wedding on a cruise ship. And then one day the cruise ship called me, "Hey, can you be here in an hour? The other guy didn't show up." So I didn't have time to load the truck up. I grabbed my headphones, I grabbed my favorite microphone, and I grabbed my collection of CDs, and I jumped in the car and I drove to San Francisco as fast as I could get there. Which means that when I got on the ship, the only sound system I had was these in-house internal paging speakers in the ceiling. And I was sitting there stressing out that everyone's going to have a terrible time because I didn't have my monstrous subwoofers and fancy lights. And I learned a really hard lesson that day, that it doesn't matter what your sound system is, they don't give a darn. I turned those overhead speakers on and it sounded like a $10 piece of junk portable radio. And then the dance floor was packed the whole time. Wow. And that's what
that's what you were selling.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they want. I remember, they want the experience.
Right. When I started playing in rock and roll bands at 15, I had to have this 4.5-foot tall speaker with two 15-inch reflexes with my keyboards, and at one point I had 3 keyboards at one point stacked up: the synthesizer, the organ, and the piano. Right. By the time I finished gigging, when I was in my early 20s, I had 1 keyboard. I had 1 Serwin Vega 15-inch speaker that was small, 1 amp, and the whole thing went into my two-door hatchback Mazda. You know, when I started, my parents had to buy a station wagon to get all the stuff into, and I could get this into the most tiny compact car because what they cared about is, were they having a good time at the club? Were they having a good time at the bar? That's what they cared about. So what I teach people is, when you're talking to a customer, well, first of all, in your advertising and marketing, show aspirational images. An aspirational image is an image that looks like the results of hiring you. So I'm working with this one DJ, and on their homepage, they have a great picture, but it looks like a photographer's shot or the venue shot because it's a couple that outside of a venue. I was like, that's pretty, but what did you have to do with that? Like, did you create that? You're the DJ. What did you have to do with that?
Yeah.
And others have packed dance floors, which is what I'm looking for. Show me the packed dance floor. Not the first dance. Show me that later, because the first dance is only 2 people on the dance floor. Show me everybody having a great time. The second thing that you want to do is, in all of your marketing, you want to use the word you as much as possible, because you should be speaking to the person reading it about the results of choosing you. So you should say, let's say it's for a wedding. You know, when you choose Jeff's DJ company, you and your guests are going to have the time of your lives at your wedding, because we're going to make sure that you have, right? Just look for the word you.
Then what would you say if we're talking about the show that we're on today?
Right. So when you're talking about the show, again, it's not about the technology. What it's about is the takeaways for the person that's listening right now. If I was making the show notes after this show, I would talk about how Alan dropped the 4 things you need to have on your website, right? Or what are these takeaways so that somebody's going to want to listen through to hear all of that. And they don't care about the how, right? If you follow Simon Sinek at all, Sinek, he has the, start with why, the golden circle, which is what, how, and why. I need what you do. So somebody's tuning into this show right now because they want to get information, they want to be entertained, or whatever it is. The how that Chris is taking care of in the back end, they could care less. They might be curious and go, I wonder how they're doing that. Even if they're never going to do a production themselves, but just, I wonder how that just switched over to this. Jeff didn't push a button. How did that happen, right? Chris is the man behind the green curtain. And then the why is, why should I keep listening to this? Is it interesting? Is it entertaining? Is it teaching me something that I can use right away? When I'm speaking to a small group, large group, whatever, I had people from 48 countries tune in to hear virtual stuff that I did last year. When I'm speaking, I always try to speak to the one person that's listening. No matter how many people are listening, it's always one person that's listening at a time. And then I'm trying to give you something you can use right away in a hopefully entertaining way, but I'm not an entertainer. I want you to be educated, but I'm not an educator, right? So I know my brand. My brand is that people find it entertaining to learn, to have fun, and to use what I teach right now. Sometimes, Jeff, I was actually at a conference, the Marquee Show, last month in Chicago. And I had people, while I was speaking about getting ghosted, where you respond to somebody and then you don't hear back. In the session, they responded to people that had been ghosting them. And 2 people the next day said, hey, I sent people messages that had been ghosting me, and I had a conversation with them now last night, and I made the sales. 2 people, while I was still speaking. That's my brand, is you're going to be able to use this. I explain things in a way that is not over your head, not under you, doesn't make you feel stupid, and doesn't, you don't need any translations for the words that I'm going to use. But I say something and you go, that makes sense. I think I can do that, right? It's not going to take me extra work and intensive things to do that. I can use that right now. That's my brand, right? Now, my brand isn't that I'm a speaker.
We have a video that I want to play really quick because I keep getting the flashing sign that says, remember the sponsors. So we're going to roll your video, and immediately after that, we'll be right back. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right.
That sounds great.
Let's go for it. Poof. Here on the show with me, Geoffrey Hill, We are always looking for new people to come on the show as a guest and share their stories. I love to talk to actors, singers, producers, filmmakers, authors, and tons of other people. If you or somebody you know would be a great guest for my show or any other shows on the network, just go to tvpbn.com/the show prep and fill out the application today. I look forward to seeing you.
I don't like being hung up on. If you hang up on me again, I'm coming in after you.
Listen, mister, I'm gonna have to call the police if you keep calling me.
Call them. I don't think they'll get here fast enough.
Oh, there they are.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bride and groom-to-be, Emily and Marcus!
What the hell is that?
You son of a bitch! You said we were best friends!
What are you two doing here?
Oh my God!
Excuse me, this is a private event.
Oh, it's cool. We know the bride and groom.
We met these two animals down in Mexico.
Why does the salt not taste salty?
Oh, because it's cocaine.
What?
I don't do drugs.
Even on vacation?
Okay, look, we just gotta contain it. It's only happening because you said see you later.
I said it without meaning it like any decent person would. And somehow he's charming my dad.
Hope you're comfortable letting him force him.
Oh, so there's at least one girl involved.
Everywhere they go, chaos happens.
This weekend is all about you. Well, I like the sound of that.
We do too.
Jesus.
Good evening, everyone.
What is he doing up there?
Marcus and I crossed paths in Mexico. Get to know each other intimately. This is the best wedding I've ever been to. Put that bottle on your head.
Babe, he's not serious. We've been drinking and...
Count it!
You hit the bottle this time.
What?
Why should you have me come and do sales training for you and your team? Well, if you're looking for cookie cutter or off-the-shelf training, you don't want me to come. Everything I do is customized to your business. My clients are mostly businesses in the wedding and event industry, and they could be one person at the company, 3 people, 5 people, 12, 50. I have worked with customers of all sizes, so you're not too small, you're not too big. But what can you expect if you have me come and do training for you? That's a really great question. Don't take my word for it. Listen to companies that already have.
It was personalised to our venue, so we could ask specific questions about our venue and get tailored answers.
Everything that Alan did was about making it simplified, making it understandable.
The things that you're going to get and the things that your staff is going to take away are going to really help your business grow.
Alan definitely knows what he's talking about.
I got to ask any question that came to my mind. I asked all the nitty-gritty questions, the overarching questions, just anything that I felt would help produce more sales.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing the sales skyrocket.
Got so much information that we know we can take back to the club and really help increase our sales.
It can only help you. Even if you've been doing this for a long time, it's never a bad idea to have someone come in with an outside perspective.
And we just had a day with Alan BERG, and it was
insightful, amazing, absolutely inspiring, wonderful.
This sales training was definitely worth the investment.
We really love Alan, and we can't wait to have him back again.
Alan, thanks so much for coming down, but I do have one regret, and this is a serious one. I didn't bring you down sooner.
If this is the way you want to feel about your training after you have me come and work with you and your team, whether you're the only one or a small group or a large group, contact me today for pricing and availability. I'd love to work with you.
That is purely incredible. That's why. I mean, your video right there literally did exactly what you said. Just review after review after review. No wonder people hire you so often.
Well, if you don't practice what you preach, assuming it makes sense, right? It has to make sense, but you have to practice what you preach. Now, my business isn't the same as my customers' businesses, but in very many ways it is. So instead of me standing there for 2 minutes and telling you why I think you should hire me, I let people who already did tell you their experience. And I think it's an easy way for people to do this if they would just look at the stuff they already have. Thank you notes, emails where people wrote you thank yous, social posts. I save everything. I put them into digital buckets. I use Evernote. You could use a Google Doc or whatever you want to use for that, Word docs. And I have a bucket for speaking testimonials. I have a bucket for consulting testimonials, for sales training testimonials. And when I need to make something like that, I have video testimonials that I've saved. But if you notice, Jeff, I didn't put everything that those people said. I took sound bites of what those people said, shorter ones, longer ones, keep it visually interesting. I put the captions underneath them because 80% of Facebook videos are watched with the sound off. So this way, if you're not in a quiet environment, or it just helps you, go move along with what's being said. It's also good for people who are hearing impaired, obviously. But that 2-minute video there, that 2-minute video just said to somebody, why should you do this, right? That's what it said. What did I not list? I didn't list the type of things we could do, right? I didn't list, sales training, and I didn't list closing more deals, and I didn't list, helping you handle objections and all that. I didn't have to. Those people said that they're doing more sales because of me. They're going to see their sales skyrocket. And if you notice, I chose people from different parts of the world and different types of businesses. So there were venues, there was bridal shop, there was entertainers, right? There just different kinds of people, so that the people that I'm trying to prospect, they will see people like themselves, but they'll also see a hotel in Dubai. They'll also see a venue or two in Australia. So they'll see that, and it gives me that extra level of credibility, yes, as a global speaking fellow, but for sales training, that, there's somebody in Australia saying, actually a couple of people saying, this is what Alan did for our business. And the implication is he can do this for you as well. Absolutely.
I mean, this is turning into a giant sales pitch for Alan BERG, and I totally don't mind that, because Alan is truly worth the money. But what we've talked about is, it seems that we're always talking about how you're on the stage talking to people, but there is a whole lot more to this than just calling you up and saying, hey, can you talk on our stage for 2 hours? There's that personal aspect, and sometimes that's even more valuable than just that moment on the stage, because that mastermind that you're creating with that business owner is where they get their questions really answered.
Right, and one of the things you know about me, because of how we met, is accessibility and approachability as part of my brand. I'm not the kind of speaker that wants a certain level of celebrity where, can I go over and ask him a question? I want to be the guy that you want to come and ask the question, and you feel you can just walk up to me and ask the question. Or actually, I have some people that I've met because I was at a conference in Vegas, and I'm walking down the hall, and somebody's like, oh, hey, ask you a question. I was like, sure. I was like, you know what? I'm hungry. I was going to go grab something to eat. You want to go get something to eat?
Oh, man, you got to do that next time I see you.
You always see me at my booth, so I'm kind of stuck in the booth there, right? Catch me in the hallway. But I do this with people because I'm just the guy, and this is what I do, right? Yes. This happens to be my job, and I happen to be good at it, and that's great. But I want you to be able to approach me, and that's part of my brand. And I give up a level of celebrity that some people seek, because my success, Jeff, is not how much money I made or how many times I spoke. My success is today I got an email, actually 3 emails, from a guy that I worked with last week on how to respond to his inquiries because he was getting ghosted, which is actually, I'm working on my 6th book, which is going to be called Why Are They Ghosting Me? And we went on to specifically what he should be saying and what he should be doing differently than what he's doing, because he wasn't converting a lot of these leads. And starting last night, going into this morning, he sent me 4 messages about 4 different couples that he's booked in the last couple of days using the stuff that we talked about. That's my success. That is my ROI, is that he has now benefited in his pocket, which benefits his family because of us working together. And that for me is the success. The paycheck. Yeah, we need to have a transaction because I have to keep the lights on here too. But that's not why I do it. I do it because I'm having an impact on people like him. And will he come back and want me to help him more? Probably. And if he doesn't, I've already helped him, and that help will continue to help him. And that's what I look for. So the accessibility of me getting off stage and going into the audience and going into the hall and going to the parties and stuff is because I want people to say, hey, can I ask you a question? And even though I charge for my advice at an event like, the Photo Booth Expo or whatever, no, ask me anything you want. We're here. We're here together. What do you want to know?
What I want to know right now is we've been talking about weddings, of course, because that was the foundation of what started everything for you. But does this knowledge still apply to some non-wedding kind of business?
Oh, absolutely. I'm working right now with an insurance company who has interesting dynamics. So I know the father, the owner of the company, and one of his sons is working with him. And if you've ever worked with your spouse or your children or your significant other, you can't treat them always or talk to them always the same way you do an employee. And some of the stuff that he's trying to get across to his son, it's this father-son relationship that needs to be a boss-employee relationship. So he's brought me on to work with him. And they're in insurance, right? I worked with they customize the Zoho CRM software company in Canada. And they were having the same problem that so many people have, which is they're sending out, trying to get businesses to want to do business with them. They're sending emails out and they're not getting any response. And I looked at their emails and I said, you're telling people what you do. You're not identifying any problems that they have that you're going to solve, because people act faster to eliminate a negative than to get a positive. So, Jeff, if I told you, your house is getting up there in age, you might want to get the pipes checked. And you're like, all right, I'll get around to that. But if a pipe is leaking, nothing else matters right now. It's like, get the plumber in right now. So what I suggested to them was the subject line of their email was not interesting at all, so why should anybody even pay attention? And then the message was too long, and then it was all about them. It wasn't about the customer. So I asked them, I said, what are the 3 biggest problems that you find lately you're solving for customers? Like, they come to you because of A, B, and C. And we identified those. So they sent emails out, and the subject line was, which of these is keeping you up at night? And inside it said, hi, Jeff. We know that you're using the Zoho CRM system. And what we find with companies like yours is one of these 3 things is your biggest problem. And then it numbered 1, 2, 3 bullets. And then at the bottom, it's like, which of these is most keeping you up at night? And they sent those out and they started getting response, because the job of the first message is to get them engaged in the conversation. And they weren't engaging people in a conversation. They were dumping stuff on them and saying, here's what we can do for you. Nobody needs everything that any of us does, but they might need something that we do. You have to find out what that is. So with this insurance company, they actually just showed me this. They got these orange boxes. Right? They got some writing inside, and they got these stress toys that look like Rubik's Cubes.
It's squishy. Because a Rubik's Cube really is a stress toy. It creates a lot of stress in my life.
Right. So that's going to go in the box, and then the message, then they're going to follow up on that. So I saw these, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to have these made. I'm going to have a message put on here that says, are you puzzled about how to convert more leads and stop getting ghosted? Right? Or something like that, and maybe send those out. But you have to get someone's attention. And no matter what the business is. So this is an insurance company. The other one was CRM software. I've had other companies come. I don't look for that business, Jeff, because I'm busy enough within the weddings and events industry. But I don't talk about weddings or events. I just talk to people that do them. I'm talking business to people that do them. So I know my lane, and I've had people come to me and I say, hey, I'm not your guy, right? I had one person, gosh, Jeff, it would have been the highest paying speaking gig I've ever had, and I wasn't the right guy, and I turned it down. And he said, oh, my daughter saw you speak, and she has your books, and I've read your books, and her company brought you in to do sales training, and he wanted me to come and do training, but he's in the healthcare field, laboratory services, so he competes with Quest and LabCorp and stuff like that. And there's very, very specific rules and laws about what you can and can't do when you're in a doctor's office. Like in New York, they can't even give a pen with their company name on it anymore. And I said, you know what, I don't know those rules, and I don't want to step over a line and tell your people to do something that they can't do. So, let me refer you to some other people. And he was saying, we can change the date to a date that works for you. And I said, I appreciate that. I really do. I'm not the right guy. And the time it would take me to learn what I needed to learn would not have been a good use of my time, because I wasn't looking to get into that industry. Yeah. If I was, I would learn it and then become the expert.
Well, you have some integrity. That's really good to see.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's a HVAC manufacturing company. So they're the Southeast distributor of the largest HVAC manufacturing company's products in the world. And he was also the drummer in my first band when we were 15 together. We were in this band. And we're talking one day, and he goes, you know what, everything you're talking about would apply to my guys. Could you come and talk to them? And the next day he was doing a lunch and learn. And I said, sure, but I need to know your stuff. So I went to their website, and I read their PDFs, I read their brochures, and I learned about air-cooled versus water-cooled air conditioning units, and how many 100,000 tons and all this kind of stuff. Just so when I was speaking to them, I had credibility of being able to use some of their lingo. I can do that organically within my niche, but I had to learn that. So his guys enjoyed it. And then the next time I was down in Florida, he was like, hey, you want to come and do another one of those? I was like, sure, why not? I get lunch, why not? So I went, and he was telling his guys, he goes, going to have, Alan Berg's coming back for this. One of his guys was like, oh, is that the guy that told us to shut up? Because I have a book called Shut Up and Sell More Weddings and Events. And he was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, good. So they were getting value, and that has nothing to do with my niche, but they're salespeople. And I can teach salespeople. I've sold a rock and roll band. I've sold burglar alarms. I was on one of the top 50 Chrysler Plymouth salesmen in the country. I've managed a retail store, right? I know sales. I don't have to know how to do what they do, just like I don't have to know how to do what a DJ does, right? I can sell DJ services, but I can't be the DJ.
Well, it's because people in general respond a certain way to a certain stimulus. So if you're packaging it a certain way based on these techniques, they're going to respond that way to it. We have a video.
Well, if you're asking,
we have a video of you. I started this segment off talking about being a mastermind, and one of the things that I love about you very much is that you're accessible. You mentioned that a few minutes ago. And so I want to roll this video because I really want people to know how accessible you are. Let's roll it.
What's a mastermind day? It's a chance to work on your business instead of just in your business. You're always busy doing your business, but are you working on it? You hear that phrase all the time, but are you doing it? A mastermind is a chance to do that. We'll bring together a small group of like-minded wedding and event professionals, people who have similar goals and some different goals, people who have a lot of experience and maybe not as much experience, and everybody gets to share. It's not just listening to a presentation and taking notes and figuring out what to do. It's actually learning exactly what to do, and then sometimes even doing it while you're there. What can you expect? Well, every one of them is different, so listen to people who've already done it.
We were with a small group. We were able to kind of bounce off each other, ask questions, talk about our own personal experiences that might relate to someone else.
Now, the reason that this is such a great investment is that no matter what level you're at in your business, you're going to get some amazing takeaways.
And we walked away with stuff for our actual business, not just an overview.
And we've been successful with it, so we decided to come back and learn some more. Nobody else has the expertise that he has.
We actually get to speak with him and rack his brain.
It's not general, it's specific. And that alone has helped us double sales in the course of 3 years.
The money that it costs to do it will repay itself many, many times over.
If this is the way you want to feel after your mastermind day with me, register now because seats are very limited so we can keep this as to a conversational collaboration. I look forward to seeing you there.
Oh, the mastermind. The mastermind is one of the most valuable parts of these things because it's where they get their personal questions answered. Now, you took everything that you packaged here and you turned it into is your podcast weekly or daily?
It is weekly. I do a monologue, so every Wednesday it's just me. And then every other Monday I do a dialogue episode where I have one or more people on in an interview.
Very nice. Obviously, the audience is appreciative for that. Where do we find
And mine are short, by the way, Jeff. Yeah, mine are very short. They're 10 minutes. So it's on all of the podcast platforms. Most people are listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or watching on YouTube. The easiest place is just to go to podcast.alanberg.com. And that's where all of the links are to all the different platforms. But it's the Wedding Business Solutions podcast because that's my business name, Wedding Business Solutions. And I kept them short because I listen to podcasts, and sometimes that 1 hour podcast, I don't get to finish it. So at 10 minutes, give or take, unless it's a dialogue one could be 20, 30, 40 minutes, but all of mine are anywhere from 7 minutes to about 12 minutes each. And it's just me talking about one particular topic. And I'm incredibly excited because we started April 1st. And just like a couple of days after 3 months, we hit 10,000 downloads on audio already. And now we are just shy, as we're recording this, just shy of 14,000 audio downloads. And there's another, 4,000 or 5,000 or more YouTube video views of that as well.
Outstanding. So I want to ask all kinds of personal questions about my show, but that's something I think we should do off the camera because that's your living.
The idea of the podcast was
what I have.
The idea of the podcast.
What I have here is a podcast video that you shared with me.
Yep, this is my promo, my intro to my podcasts that's on YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Wedding Business Solutions, this is the first video you'll see to introduce you to the podcast.
Now let's roll that, and then afterwards, come back and tell me what you were going to tell me when I rudely cut you off.
Hi, it's Alan Berg, and welcome to the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. As the name suggests, on this podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you ideas on how to help your wedding business sell more, profit more, have more happy customers having great weddings and events. See, I started my business helping people like you have better businesses. Most people get into the wedding industry because they're really good at a craft, cooking, photography, video, music, or something like that. And you are great at that, but that doesn't mean you're great at business. And I've been helping wedding businesses like yours for over 25 years have better businesses. For those of you that don't know my background, I started out selling wedding advertising in wedding magazines called Wedding Pages. I ended up publishing 2 versions of those in New Jersey and in the Hudson Valley in New York. I went on to be at The Knot. Some of you know The Knot, theknot.com. At the time, the largest wedding website in the world. We had 17 regional magazines and a national magazine, and I was vice president of sales. I was also the main speaker, and I would go out speaking about the business of weddings and events. For the last 10 years, I've been traveling around the world helping businesses like yours have a better business. Through my speaking, through consulting, through private sales training, through my 5 books. And my goal is to help you sell more, have more fun doing it, have your customers have better events, and you profit more. See, I'm not interested in feeding your ego. I'm interested in feeding your family. And we do that by helping you profit more. Some of my podcasts are going to be monologues, just me. Some of them are going to be dialogues, people in the industry and people outside the industry. See, as a professional speaker, I have access to a lot of great people who are excellent at what they do, but you may never hear them because they're not in the wedding industry. The initials after my name, CSP, Certified Speaking Professional, is the highest earned designation for a professional speaker in the National Speakers Association, which is the largest group of professional speakers in the world. I'm also a Global Speaking Fellow. That's through the Global Speakers Federation. And right now there's only 37 of us in the world. You have to have your CSP and then present in at least 5 of the 9 UN designated areas of the world. Well, I presented in 14 countries, 5 of them in Spanish, which I taught myself, and now I'm learning French. And my goal, again, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, wedding business is the same, even though the weddings might be different. So thanks for tuning in. Please make suggestions for any topics that you'd like to hear here. My email is alan@alanberg.com. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your suggestions. And I'd love to see you tuning in to some of my episodes. So again, welcome to the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast.
Now, everybody knows that I am rude, and so I sometimes think I should apologize for that. Everyone knows I'm rude, and I cut people off all the time. Sometimes it's because they talk so long, and sometimes because I just want to play this really great video we just watched. But just before I did all that, you were saying something, and I want to know what it was.
And it wasn't about my COVID beard that you saw in the video that was a little bit bigger there.
No, but I do have something I'm going to talk about because there was something fun during this last year that I observed about you.
Okay.
What were you saying?
So, well, the topics for my podcast come from the conversations I'm having with my clients and potential clients and on social media. So I might be working with someone one-on-one and something will come up. For instance, I was working with someone who was working on a new website. I don't make websites. I consult with people on them, but I don't make them myself. And it wasn't ready. And Jeff, we all know these people. It's not quite ready. It's not quite ready. They're not ready to launch it. Not ready to launch it. And I said, you know what? Perfect is the enemy of profit. And I said, hang on a second, I need to write that down. That was good. That was good. I wrote that down. And then I made a podcast based upon that subject. 10 minutes, I just talked to the camera about it doesn't have to be perfect. Make it good enough and then make it better. And that's where that came from. Other ones are suggestions that people have sent in. I just had one that I recorded the other day. Somebody said, what do I do at the bridal show, at the wedding expo? What do I do in my booth to stand out? And I had just had that conversation with one of my clients. So that became an episode. The dialogues I have with other people, interesting people I know, they're not infomercials for them, although indirectly, if you like what you're hearing, you might want to get their book or look them up or whatever. But I have these series that I'm doing. I'll do air quotes here, series. One of them is on people who have a very specific niche in the industry, people who have pivoted either into the industry, out of the industry, or within the industry. And then the third series is on scaling your business up or scaling your business down. I just had a guy on the other day for a future episode. He took his business as a DJ from just him to 7 DJs, and then made the conscious decision to bring it back down to just him again. So we talk about, well, how did that happen? Why did that happen? How did you grow your business? Why did you decide to scale it down? And then other people to scale up. So my topics are, people tell me they're very relevant because it's stuff that's just being talked about.
When you were going through COVID like the rest of us, living in New York City, you experienced a lockdown unlike anybody else, I believe. Practically,
New Jersey, same thing. I'm in New Jersey, so yep, same thing.
Practically a prison inmate life. During COVID, you would have had to pivot just like anybody else because your primary source of income comes from live events on stages. Am I correct?
Sales training in person and speaking. Yeah, going in 2019, I flew United Airlines over 140,000 miles. I was away 178 nights. So that's all
nights out of 364 nights of
65.
The year.
Yeah, that's a lot of nights.
A lot.
To go from that to being home for 18 months.
That's 50% of the time elsewhere.
Yeah.
So talk about
in 2019.
Pivoting. You really had to pivot. I noticed something fun about you because we're very serious talking about business, but you play the piano. and I watched that so many times. How did it go with the charities? You played the piano, collected money. How many charities did you support during this past COVID?
So the background to that is a videographer friend of mine kind of challenged me to put a piano playing video up, which people in the industry don't think of me that way. They think of me as a speaker, a trainer, whatever. But there's no secret that I play the piano. It's pictures of me on my About page playing instruments, piano, guitar. And I talk about how when I was 15, I was in a rock and roll band, right? So it's not a secret, but it's kind of a sidebar to me. So people don't think of me. That's not the identity that they have of me. So fine, I said, I'll put this one video up, and I have a baby grand piano, and I set up my iPhone, and I played, I think, Somewhere Over the Rainbow or something like that.
I remember
and the people reaching out were like, wow, it just got this incredible response from people. And so I put another video up, and somebody made the comment, "Where's your tip jar?" and I said, well, I'm not doing it for me. This is just me, giving back my catharsis, my emotional release, happy, sad, whatever, is playing the piano. So I said, you know what? I don't want to do it for me, but you can put a charity link up, a donation link up on Facebook. So I had just seen another video of people waiting online at food banks, and it just breaks your heart. And we donate to our local food bank, food and money, etc. And so I put up for a food bank, and people donated. And then I put another video up, and mostly food banks, Jeff, but I also, if someone made a request, I might do a food bank in their area. Otherwise, I would use Feeding America, which is a national one. But then I also had some other ones where around the whole time of the George Floyd stuff going on, I did either the Southern Poverty Law Center or the ACLU. I had a friend whose sister passed, not of COVID. She actually was out for her morning walk and stepped off the curb, and somebody ran a stop sign and hit her and killed her. And he's Jewish, she's Jewish, and I put up Hadassah as a link. I had somebody whose dog passed, and I put up ASPCA. So it was mostly food banks, and we've raised over just about $2,400 from those videos. And it's just literally, you can see it, Jeff, very low production value. It's my iPhone sitting up on a tripod, filming me playing the piano. That's it.
Fun.
I purposely, thank you. And I purposely don't pull out my electric keyboard, and I don't go into post-production, because I know if I start adding drum tracks and other instruments, I will be there for hours, because I've been there. And then the other thing is I've done duets where I would play the piano part, send that video to someone who would then sing their part, and then we put them together. And then we put up the charity of their choice there. But I've put over 50 videos up on my Instagram, on my Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. And it's funny, because it'll get reactions, but you probably know this, Jeff, because I've probably done this for you. If Facebook or LinkedIn tells me it's your birthday, I wish you happy birthday. And I do it in a private message. I don't do it on your wall. I do it in a private message. And so many people will come back to me and say, oh, Alan, thanks for the birthday wishes. And by the way, I love your piano videos. They may never have commented. They may never have given a reaction, but they saw it. And I'll meet people at events, and they'll bring that up. I had a woman the other day, I wanted to cry. She said, my daughter and I there was something going on, and we were having a bad day. And whatever song that I put up that day, she said, you just touched us and made us feel better. It's like I'm getting teary just thinking about it, And that to me is when I talk about this celebrity that I don't want. I'm humbled by the impact that I can have on people. And if me playing a song on a piano can make somebody feel better on a day, that's a gift. That's a gift that they gave me, right? They gave me that gift of being able to touch them in that way, just like it's a gift for me to be able to educate people and help them with their businesses. And, that's just the way I approach life is, these are gifts both ways, but, so thank you for bringing that up. It's just a fun thing. And I get requests from people, and I say, listen, if you make a request, you have to put something in the tip jar. I always put the first $10 in, but you have to put something in the tip jar. And here's actually the funny side story. My dad, who's 91, he loves me sending him the videos. and he'll go to physical therapy and he'll play through his iPhone. He'll play it through speaker, and he'll go to the nail salon or wherever he's going. And he said, I have a fan club because they want him to play music when I come. And I said, I feel like I'm 10 because my dad is showing off videos of me playing the piano, and I feel like I'm a 10-year-old, not what I
awesome.
am. Right?
Hey, check it out. It's little Alan. Little Alan is playing the piano. Have you seen my son?
It's crazy.
He's a world-famous certified speaking professional, and he plays the piano. So if and it makes me think about that. If someone hires you to come speak at their conference and they put a piano on the stage, I'll bet you'd tickle the keys for a few minutes, wouldn't you?
Well, I got to tell you, Jeff, the reason I put the piano videos up is because I was at a conference at the Disney Swan and Dolphin Hotels in Orlando. And this videographer and I were going to go out to dinner, and he came down to the lobby to meet me, and he didn't see me. But he heard somebody playing the piano, so he went over to see who it was, and it was me in the lobby of this hotel. So if I'm someplace and there's a piano and it's not locked, it's going to get played. Or if there's a band playing and it's somehow accessible, I've played on stage at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I've played on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. I was at an event in Huatulco, Mexico, and they had a keyboard and a saxophone player. And next thing you know, I was the one playing keyboard. I was at another event, and the woman is showing us this beautiful resort that we were at that brought me in. And we get to the lounge, and there's a guy playing guitar and a girl singing, and there was a piano and nobody was playing it. And she goes, "Do you like music?" I said, "I love music, but I like to play, not just listen." She said, "Well, what do you play?" I said, "Well, I play piano. I also play guitar, but I play piano." So she goes to the guy and goes, "Hey, he plays piano. Can he play with you?" And he's like, "Sure." And next thing you know, I'm playing with them. So that to me is just, it's part of life. That piano wasn't being played, why not? So I've played, in Australia, and I've played in, all over the US. Again, if there's a piano and it's not locked, there's a pretty good chance. So yes, if they put a piano on stage, it would very, very likely get played.
That is so beautiful. My friends, today you met one of the most valuable people in my life, my friend Alan BERG. Why is that? Because I own this television network, and this is my show that we're talking about here, as well as a bunch of other shows that we roll. And if it weren't for Alan, I wouldn't know how to market it. We wouldn't be getting thousands of viewers per episode and tens of thousands across the world. It wouldn't be happening because before I met Alan, I was stumbling around with my face, in the ground, thinking that everybody wanted to know how big my speakers are, and no one cared. But because of my friend Alan, now we're getting 10, 20, 50, 100,000 views per episode on my show, as well as others here on the network. If you're looking for someone who can be that turnaround guy for you, if you're sitting there saying, COVID really kicked me in the butt, oh wow, I took it right to the shorts, and I was wearing Milk-Bone shorts at the time, the big dog came in and bit me. You just need to give Alan a call. I'm telling you right to your face, this is a true-to-life testimonial. Alan can solve your problems. But in the meantime, folks, have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Enjoy your summertime. I'm Geoffrey Hill, and I love you all.
Ah, yes. Come in.
So I have
Madamania knows what you want. Madamania knows all.
that's great.
You want an audience to watch your short films.
No, actually, I need...
You want to market your successful podcast.
No, I actually...
You want to live stream video games.
Actually, I want to be able to do it all at once in front of a live audience.
I want to be able to do it all the time. No. You want to be able to do it all at the same time. Okay, I got it. See? Madam Mania. knows the solution.